Caitlin Clark has finally done it. She confirmed what fans have been whispering, speculating, and screenshotting since her Nike logo dropped. Yes, Aya Wilson insulted her. Not in a friendly, competitive, we'll laugh about this later kind of way. In a way that hit, in a way that landed. And now, the tension between the WNBA's rising icon and its reigning queen is no longer just a fan-fueled conspiracy. It's real, it's raw, and it's about to redefine the league. Let's rewind, because this saga didn't start with a shoe. It started with a shift. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Nike handed Caitlin Clark a golden ticket, a signature logo, an upcoming shoe line, and the kind of campaign rollout you usually only see for A-listers or presidential candidates. That sleek double C emblem? Instantly iconic. Minimalist, modern, the kind of design that screams, we're not waiting. This girl is the future, and we're betting the house. The internet exploded. Her merchandise sold out before most people could click add to cart. Website? Crashed. Resale prices? Ridiculous. Clark's logo had arrived, and with it, so had a seismic cultural shift. And in the shadows of this hysteria, Aya Wilson, the face of the Las Vegas Aces, a two-time MVP, a champion, a 6-year Nike athlete, someone who'd been grinding, representing, and dominating for years, only to watch Nike roll out the red carpet for a rookie before she got so much as a properly promoted sneaker. Fans noticed. Teammates noticed. And apparently, so did Wilson. Let's be clear, Aya never went full I hate Caitlin mode. She's too smart for that, too polished. But she didn't need to. Her comments were laced with subtle venom, that kind of high-level shade only the most media-trained professionals know how to deliver. But now, Caitlin Clark's confirmation changes everything. She didn't drop the full quote, because of course she didn't. That would be way too on the nose. But she did say enough to let people know that, yes, words were exchanged. Yes, they stung. And yes, this wasn't just a case of miscommunication or media-fueled drama. It was real. And suddenly, that friendly little rivalry everyone was trying to package with a bow, it's a Cold War. Think about it. Clark, fresh-faced media darling, barely into her first season, already being handed the keys to the kingdom. Wilson, the established vet loyal to Nike, used to be in the face of the league, and now watching the spotlight shift like she never existed. The tension was baked in. The league didn't create it. The fans didn't manufacture it. This was inevitable. And now that the gloves are off, what we're seeing is so much bigger than a logo. This is a collision of eras, of marketing philosophies, of what it means to be a superstar in 2025. Clark is the face of the WNBA's future. Viral, young, a walking highlight reel. The girl next door who turns into a stone-cold killer on the court. She's not just playing basketball. She's driving ratings, shifting demographics, getting people who've never watched a WNBA game to suddenly tune in. Wilson? She built this house. She's been shouldering the league's visibility for years, putting the kind of work that didn't always come with media love or flashy campaigns. She's a player's player, the coach's favorite, the one who leads by example and makes it look easy, even when it's not. And now, she's watching the machine she's helped power with her sweat and sacrifice pivot to someone else, someone newer, someone shinier. That's not just a rivalry. That's an identity crisis. And fans are eating it up. Some are backing Aya all the way, calling her the true face of the league, accusing Nike of betrayal, saying she's been disrespected after everything she's done. Others are all in on Clark, calling her the future, saying her marketability justifies the brand attention, and dismissing Wilson's frustration as jealousy. But it's not that simple, because this goes deeper than two players. This is about a league standing on the edge of a massive transformation and deciding who gets to lead it. Clark's logo? That wasn't just a branding move. It was a power play. A statement from Nike and, by extension, the entire ecosystem of women's basketball. This is the direction we're going now. Clean lines, commercial appeal, cultural dominance. And what got caught in the crossfire? The idea that winning, leadership, and loyalty are enough. Wilson's 6-year commitment to Nike didn't get her a signature logo. Her MVP titles didn't crash a website. Her championship wins didn't have teens refreshing their browser at midnight. And that's the brutal truth behind this drama. Influence sells more than excellence. Caitlin Clark's influence is undeniable. Her college games broke viewership records. Her name trends every time she plays. She's not just an athlete, she's a moment. And in 2025, moments are gold. So Nike cashed in. And in doing so, they reignited a conversation the league's been sidestepping for years. What really defines a star? Is it stats? Is it leadership? Is it style? Personality? Timing? Or is it just being able to command attention? Clark can. And Wilson? She has, but not like this. Which is why this insult Clark confirmed hits so differently. It wasn't just about hurt feelings. It was about power. About watching someone step into your territory and be treated like royalty while you're still waiting for your coronation. Wilson's words, whatever they were, weren't just about Clark. They were about the system, the strategy, the shift. They were about feeling replaceable. And in a league that already fights for scraps of mainstream attention, that fear hits hard. But here's the twist, this drama. It might just be the best thing to ever happen to the WNBA. Because suddenly, everyone is watching. Every game between these two, must-see TV. Every post-game interview, a potential headline. Every tweet, every like, every outfit, every side glance. It all gets dissected like the Zapruder film. This isn't just a rivalry. This is a narrative. And narrative sells. Wilson and Clark aren't just athletes anymore. They're the main characters in a story that's shaping the future of the league. Clark, the disruptor. Wilson, the legacy. Nike, the puppeteer pulling the strings. And the fans? We're just here for the drama. But let's not forget the stakes. Because beneath the sass and the shade, there's a deeper conversation happening. About race. About respect. About who gets to be considered marketable. About how brands value different kinds of greatness. About how women's sports, even at its highest level, still has a fight for fair treatment behind the curtain. Clark's rise is spectacular. Wilson's frustration is valid. And Nike's role in all of this? Calculated to a fault. They knew this would cause controversy. They knew the fans would argue. They knew headlines like Clark confirms Wilson insulted her would go viral. And they wanted that because controversy creates conversation. And conversation drives sales. So, where do we go from here? Caitlin Clark is only going to get bigger. Her shoe is coming. Her brand is expanding. She'll be in commercials, campaigns, magazine covers. She's being positioned as a Serena, the Steph, the Jordan of this new generation of women's basketball. And Wilson? She has a choice to make. Does she double down on her dominance and let her game talk louder than the headlines? Or does she step into the fire, own her narrative, and force Nike and the league to reckon with the fact that she built this? Because here's the truth. The league needs both. Clark for the flash. Wilson for the foundation. Without one, the other doesn't stand as tall. So, if you're here for the drama, buckle up, because the rivalry is no longer silent. The line in the sand has been drawn. And when Caitlin Clark finally confirmed that shade was thrown, she didn't just spill tea. She set the whole damn table on fire. Now it's your turn. Whose side are you on? Who deserves to be the face of the league? Did Nike play this smart or play everyone involved? Sound off in the comments like you're the third ref in this branding brawl. And don't forget to subscribe for more chaos, more clapbacks, and more meltdowns on the front lines of pop culture and sports drama. This isn't your standard media beef that fizzles out after one vague Instagram story and a PR-crafted apology. No, this is different. This has layers. Like a triple overtime grudge match wrapped in million-dollar contracts and ego bruises. Caitlin Clark confirming that Aya Wilson actually said something shady? That wasn't just gossip fodder. That was a turning point. That was the moment the whispers got receipts. Let's be honest. Fans already felt the tension. Every interaction between these two, every look, every skipped compliment, every time one got asked about the other, felt loaded, like you could hear the eye rolls between the lines. But people told themselves, nah, they're just competitive. That's normal. It's the media twisting things again. And then boom, Clark drops the confirmation. She didn't have to say the exact words. The fact that she acknowledged it at all was enough to send everyone spiraling. Group chats were popping off. Reddit threads doubled in size. Podcasts scrambled to hit record. Because this wasn't just about Caitlyn's shiny new logo anymore. It was about vindication. The Clark loyalists felt like they had proof now. Proof that Wilson was jealous, bitter, maybe even a little threatened. See? She was hating. Clark didn't do anything wrong. She just got her bag. That crowd got loud, fast. Meanwhile, Wilson's defenders dug in harder. Can you blame her? She earned what Clark is being handed. She paved the way for this moment. And now she's being sidelined for someone who hasn't even made it through their rookie year. It's messy. It's emotional. It's giving unspoken tension turned main character energy. And it's not just a player versus player moment. It's a mirror reflecting everything broken and beautiful about sports culture, branding, and who gets to be celebrated first. Because look, we all know this wasn't really about a logo. It was about power. About a 22-year-old walking into the WNBA and being told she's the future, while the woman who's been carrying the present gets treated like a footnote. It's about the ugly reality that in the eyes of big brands, cultural currency and commercial pull matter way more than stats or seniority. And now that Caitlyn has acknowledged the insult, the power balance has shifted. Again. Because here's what no one wants to admit. Caitlyn Clark had every reason to stay silent. She could have played it cool, let the tension bubble while she cashed checks, and kept her image squeaky clean. But she chose to speak. And by doing so, she let the world know, I see the shade. I feel the tension. And I'm not pretending it's not happening. That's not just bold. That's strategy. She's controlling the narrative now. Not Nike. Not the WNBA. Not even the fans dissecting her every move like it's a Zapruder film. Her. And Wilson? She's now got a decision to make. One that could define not just her legacy, but the tone of this rivalry. Does she escalate? Come forward and say, yeah, I said it, and here's why. Lay it all out? Call out the favoritism? The branding bias? The uncomfortable racial dynamics simmering underneath all this? Or does she stay quiet? Let her performance speak? Focus on wins and hope the story cools down while she builds her own legacy in silence? Here's the problem with silence, though. It gets interpreted. When you don't speak, people fill in the blanks. They assume you're fuming. They assume you're calculating. They assume you're bitter. And suddenly, the narrative moves without you, but Wilson's no rookie. She's media savvy. She knows this game better than most. So whatever her next move is, it's going to be intentional. And let's not pretend Nike is some innocent bystander here. They lit the match. They dropped that logo with no context, no cushion, and definitely no parallel rollout for Wilson, who's been repping the brand longer than Clark's even had a WNBA jersey. No dual campaign. No side-by-side feature. Just one clean announcement that screamed, this is our girl now. It felt sharp, like a rebranding. Like they weren't just backing Clark. They were replacing everyone else in the conversation. And it worked. The internet exploded. Sales spiked. People who've never watched a women's basketball game in their life are now rocking CC merch like it's a lifestyle brand. But in doing that, Nike made a statement. This is the kind of player we're interested in now. Not just skilled, but buzzy, clickable, universally palatable. And the subtext? That if you don't check all those boxes, you'll be left waiting. No matter how many MVPs are on your shelf. Which is exactly why Wilson's alleged comment hurt so much. It wasn't just a jab at a player. It was a scream into a system that seems to reward marketability over legacy. A league that constantly asks women to do more for attention and then turns around and gives it all to whoever walks in with the most followers and a viral mixtape. Now, to be fair, Caitlyn is that good. This isn't just about hype. She's got the shot, the swagger, the leadership, the clutch gene. She earned her spot. But the speed at which the machine lifted her up, that's where things feel suspicious. And Wilson isn't the only one noticing. You think the other vets in the league aren't watching this unfold with one eyebrow raised? They're clocking the double standards, the media obsession, the sponsorship favoritism, the fact that one player is being asked to carry the league's cultural relevance like it's a solo act, while everyone else plays backup dancer. It's not sustainable. You can't build a league off one logo, off one highlight reel, off one viral star. That's not growth. That's gambling. And as Clark's profile explodes and Wilson's frustration simmers, we're all watching a reckoning in real time. Because for the first time, we're being forced to ask, what does it take to matter in women's sports today? Is it wins or clicks? Loyalty or leverage? Consistency or charisma? And more importantly, is there ever enough room at the top for more than one woman? That's the question no brand wants to answer out loud. But here's the silver lining in all this drama. It means people care. They care enough to argue, to analyze, to take sides, to get emotionally invested in a league that for too long was treated like a niche product instead of a global platform. Clark versus Wilson isn't a feud, it's a spotlight. And now, every move they make matters more than ever. So what happens next? Maybe Wilson drops her own logo. Maybe she gets picked up by another brand entirely and builds an empire out of spite. Maybe Clark and Wilson meet in the playoffs and take this rivalry from press conferences to prime time. Whatever it is, one thing's for sure, the WNBA will never be the same. And honestly, that might be the best possible outcome. Because if there's one thing women's basketball has always deserved, it's this kind of chaos, this kind of visibility, this kind of headline-generating, culture-shifting, money-making, can't-look-away moment. So, yeah, Wilson insulted Clark. Clark confirmed it. The pot is officially boiling. And now the league, the brands, and the fans have to decide. Are you watching because it's polite or because it's personal? Caitlin Clark confirmed that Aya Wilson insulted her. She didn't just fan the flames. She flipped the entire grill over and walked away like, oops, did I do that? And now the court of public opinion is in full session, and the jury? Oh, we're deep in deliberation. Because this is no longer about stats, shoe deals, or which highlight clip went the most viral on TikTok. This is about identity, legacy. Who gets to be the face of a league that's finally on the brink of cultural explosion, and who gets quietly edged out when the cameras show up? And the truth? It's ugly. We've got two of the biggest stars in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, the fresh phenom who entered the league with more momentum than a Beyoncé album drop, and Aya Wilson, the certified veteran whose greatness was already carved into the history books, at war without ever throwing a punch. Think about it. This whole rivalry is played out in whispers, glances, implied jabs. Nothing ever explicit. Just vibes, and now confirmation. And that confirmation? It was nuclear. Because once Clark said out loud that Wilson had insulted her, even if it was just a line, a shade, a quote that hurt, it cracked the whole thing open. Suddenly, this wasn't just two elite athletes existing in parallel. This was a full-on power struggle. The message was clear. Aya said something. It wasn't nice, and I felt it, which instantly reframed everything. That moment during media day when Aya said she was focused on team success? Suddenly, it didn't feel so neutral. That little chuckle during an interview when asked about Clark's impact? Now it sounds pointed. The muted support online, the lack of reposting Clark's big Nike reveal to quiet? Oh, it was loud in hindsight. And let's not pretend Clark didn't know what she was doing when she opened her mouth. She could have kept it classy, sidestepped the whole thing like, oh, we're all just competitors. I don't take it personally. That would have been the polished answer. But instead, she confirmed it. She acknowledged the insult, not to be messy, but to draw a line. And what did that do? It flipped the narrative. Suddenly, Clark wasn't just a golden girl being handed endorsements on a silver platter. She was the underdog in a battle for respect, which is wild, considering she's got the biggest brand in sports backing her, and a logo worth more than some franchises. But that's the genius of the move. She took all the whispers about her being overhyped and flipped them into sympathy. Now she's the target of envy. The new girl just trying to do her thing while the veterans throw side-eye instead of shade. And Wilson? She's now caught in the worst PR place possible. The villain role she didn't audition for. Because in a league still fighting for mainstream respect, any sign of pettiness or jealousy gets amplified tenfold. A guy can throw a tantrum, and it's called passion. A woman raises an eyebrow, and suddenly she's labeled catty, which is deeply unfair. Let's be very clear. Aya Wilson is not some mean girl plotting behind the scenes. She's a competitor, a leader, a winner. And what she's feeling, the hurt, the frustration, the betrayal, it's valid. She's been with Nike for years, carried a franchise, raised the league's profile, won awards, built programs, mentored younger players. And when it came time for Nike to invest big, they gave their first big branding push to someone who hadn't played a single WNBA game yet. Would you be thrilled? Let's not pretend you wouldn't feel some type of way. You'd be furious. You'd wonder what else you had to do. You'd be standing there like, wait, am I just a warm-up act in someone else's tour? But the problem is, public perception doesn't always make room for nuance. To the casual fan, Aya Wilson now looks like the salty vet throwing jabs from the shadows. And Clark? She's riding the sympathy wave straight to the bank. She didn't have to clap back. She didn't drag Wilson's name through the mud. She just said enough to shift the mood. And that's where things get fascinating. Because this isn't just a basketball thing. This is a branding war. Nike made its choice early. Clark is their investment. The girl next door with deep range and a clean logo. She's what execs call scalable. She plays well in Middle America and courtside in New York. She sells out merch and gets grandma to tune in. She's box office. And in 2025, brands don't just want winners. They want influencers with handles. Clark's rise is textbook. College dominance, social media buzz, cultural relevance. Her name trends with every three-pointer. She speaks in press conferences like someone who already knows she's going to have a sneaker museum one day. Meanwhile, Wilson built her brand the old-fashioned way. Sweat, rings, interviews in a locker room, and no viral drama. And for years, she was held up as the model for what a WNBA superstar should be. Until Clark came along and rewrote the blueprint overnight. And now we've got a league divided. Not just in the locker rooms, but in the fandoms, in the media, in the narratives. Because make no mistake, this rivalry is rewriting history in real time. Aya Wilson's legacy should have been bulletproof. And in a way, it still is. No one can erase her accomplishments. But the spotlight doesn't always reward longevity. It rewards novelty. And Clark? She's a headline now. So where does this go? We're at a crossroads. And both players have a choice. Clark could continue to take the high road, let the shade roll off her shoulders, stay locked in, keep building her brand. But now that she's confirmed the insult, the fans are expecting more. They're waiting for the next clapback, the next passive-aggressive soundbite, the next subtle flex in the game. And Wilson? She's at two paths. One, she leans into legacy, focuses on winning, uplifts her teammates, lets her numbers speak. That's the respectable route, the dignified route. Or she decides to own the tension. She stops pretending she's not hurt. She drops a cryptic tweet. She speaks on it in a podcast. She calls out the system. Not Clark, but the system that made her feel invisible after everything she's given. Because here's the irony in all this. The rivalry is good for both of them. This feud is driving engagement, fueling conversations, putting butts in seats. People who couldn't name 5 WNBA teams a year ago are now fully invested in hashtag Team Clark or hashtag Team Wilson without even watching the games. And if they're smart, both women lean into that. Not with toxicity, not with cheap shots, but with confidence, with moments, with presence. Because this isn't just about a Nike logo anymore. It's about what kind of stars we want in women's sports. Do we want the silent champions who show up and put in the work quietly? Or do we want the ones who generate headlines, start debates, and crash sneaker websites? Ideally, we'd want both. But history tells us the industry usually picks one. And now the question is, Who will be left standing when the flash fades and the legacy talks louder? The insult's been confirmed. The battle lines are drawn. And if you thought this was the end of the drama, oh no, babe. This was just the first quarter. Comment your take, pick your side, or don't. Chaos is also a valid choice. And be sure to subscribe for more explosive meltdowns, brand wars, and courtside showdowns that prove once and for all, this isn't just about the game anymore. It's about who owns the moment.